Might as well. So, on the occasion of their 30th anniversary, I was asked by Spin Magazine to write a thing about Rush, write something about Rush, and I wrote a little recollection of my life as a growing, musician with Rush as a constant soundtrack. And they contacted me about possibly interviewing them, like for part of the, like bio material of their next album, but they had some prerequisites. I had to answer some questions for them, all of which were about baseball.
They're real baseball nerds. They are serious. That's mainly what I remember.
A topic the last thing I remember about baseball is like Greg Nettles and Bucky Dent era Yankees.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Are those diseases? Oh my god, I got this ointment for my Greg Nettles. But then they gave me a shot for my Bucky Dentier. Thank you for the appreciate it. Hilarious.
Yeah, and literally, I could not answer the baseball questions, and they did not do the interview.
Okay, that is kind of nuts. But maybe the interview was mostly supposed to be baseball oriented.
Maybe, I don't know.
That's really funny.
Yeah, I bear no grudge.
I got them to sign my baseball net. Yeah, because you know what? I fucking came prepared for some baseball net.
I could have waxed for hours about Tolkien with them, but no.
We
wanted to talk about baseball. Anyway, terrible segue, but this is the first song we ever wrote together. Would you like to say the title of it? What?
I don't know. I'm scared to, when people yell stuff and then I don't hear it, I'm scared to ask for it. It's rarely something that you're like, oh, I'm glad that was repeated.
Though I will say, so far this audience is really upping the percentage of those, because I've had to respond to like 3 things that were actually worth responding to.
We played a show recently, I'm not going to say what town it was in.
Wasn't in Texas.
Oh my god. That fucking sucked. I just want to say that publicly. I'm not going to say where it was, but we played a show that sucked. And the audience sucked. I'll tell you that much. I'm sure not the whole audience, but several really obvious members of an audience that come up front and start just yelling shit at you, like as if you're, I don't know, as if they're like drunk relatives at a wedding or something. It was so weird.
In fairness, I tend to encourage that, much to my own detriment
but
sometimes.
You did not encourage this.
I did not.
No.
They were not people who had like researched that fact on YouTube.
Anyway, I'm just saying, thank you guys for being 50,000 times. And also, like, by the way, this place is really nice, and I know this is not a concern of yours, but the backstage is really nice. It really does make a difference, because a lot of times we encounter backstages. In fact, we have some backstage. Okay, I know you want us to play a song, and we'll play a song. But I want to tell you about this one backstage piece of graffiti that we encountered. Because most of the time in rock clubs, the walls are covered in graffiti, and it's almost always drawings of male genitalia or variations on that theme.
Yeah, in various states of...
Tumescence?
Tumescence. I wasn't going to say it.
We're not filthy. We're just reporting. We're not filthy. We're not drawing these drawings. But the best one that we saw, because the best drawing you saw, I didn't see it.
No. Well, I do just want to say that, just to put this in context of my life too, like I've toured the squats of Eastern Europe right after the wall came down and slept, next to dog do, and with the threat of giant, cinder blocks falling on your head every night, and this was still the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Now, are you talking about the bird that you saw, or the list that we saw?
I wasn't talking about the bird, but I'll talk about the bird.
Just quickly on the bird, and then we'll talk about the list, and then we'll stop talking. for the rest of the night.
Okay, that's good. I think that as you mentioned it, the bird for me is maybe the craziest thing, because in Cleveland, there's a club called the Grog Shop that I also enjoy very much, and the backstage, somebody drew, so amid all of the genitalia, which you become inured to, and maybe there's some PTSD that you're going to experience, you know, like, further down the road, but you know, at this point you just walk in and you're like, oh yeah, there it is. But on the wall was a little bird drawn in Sharpie.
That sounds adorable.
It started out adorable. If you imagine the person drawing the back of the bird and the wing and the feet and the head and the beak. And then he drew a full set of, and I'm saying he because it definitely wasn't a she, drew a full set of male and female parts on the bird. And it's not, you could tell it wasn't something that somebody added afterward, like, oh, look at this bird. It was part of the original design because there were broken lines, you know, like where things crossed. Yeah. And it's really haunted me because I feel like I can get in the minds of a lot of people when they do certain things and say to myself, like, well, all right, I can understand what, you know, I get why they did that, or, you know, like they're going through a thing.
Nope.
There's no explanation.
Yeah. Well, that's how I felt about this. It was a place called the Bottom of the Hill, and this was drawn on the back of the dressing room door, and it was a list, and the list had a title, and we could not really figure out anything about this. The title was New Pussy Rules.
Yeah. Which, first of all, thanks, Dad, but I never got to talk about the old ones. I don't know. Presumably old ones exist. I don't know.
And now they've been revised. We don't know in what direction. There was 4 things on the list. First one was never pull out. Just on the face of it, that seems like terrible advice.
Depends on what your goal is, but...
So that's number 1. Number 2 was never get out. And I really couldn't figure out what that meant, unless it was like, you're at her apartment, you finish the act, and she's going like, I really gotta get up early tomorrow, so maybe, and you're like, yeah, that's cool, get up whenever you want, I'll just make myself at home, make some eggs or something.
You got Sugar Crisp in the cabinet? Cool, where's the remote?
Number 3 was, lock it down.
Oh, yeah.
What? Shouldn't that be number 1?
I understood that to be number 3 because I think you want to test the waters with 1 and 2 before you go like, all right, I'm locking this one down.
But number 4 was the best, and the most inexplicable, just one word, tits. I guess try to include them in some way. Always a bonus if you can have them.
We've played 5 songs so far. We're already at this point. It's probably not even 10 o'clock.
Alright, I do apologize. Honestly, we're just so relieved we're not in that other gig that we played, that we're very, very, very happy. So let's launch into this and go right through another handful before we start blabbing again.
Okay.
Okay. This is called You Can't Help Me Now. Alex.